Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to another one of my canal series, and also welcome to part 3 of Secrets of the Stroudwater. This time we're not actually be looking at the history of the Stroudwater Canal itself, but an aspect of its much more recent history, as recent as 2015. Yes, what are we here for? Well, I'll tell you where I am first of all. We're just off the Stroudwater Canal, this location. It's called the Lawn. It's called Cairns Cross here, near a large busy roundabout, so you'll be able to hear traffic in the background, so apologies for that. This used to be the site of a former Victorian mansion, but there is no remains of that today. But it's a wonderful nature reserve about a mile to the west of the Gloucestershire town of Stroud. There are a couple of ponds here which are great for the wildlife, but we're not here to do a nature tour today on this canal series video, but to have a look at something that happened down on the canal back in 2015. Now this bridge goes over the top of what's known as the Ruscombe Brook, and it enters the canal between the two Dudbridge Locks. And they were restored around about 2010, between 2010 and 2015. And that's an important part of this story. Unlike its neighbour, the Thames and Severn Canal, the Stroudwater has never been short of water. In fact, there is another major stream that enters not far from Dudbridge called the Painswick stream. So there's lots of water here. As part of the restoration of the canal between the towns of Stonehouse and Stroud in the 2010s, there was also a significant challenge to do with water management. All of this water coming down from the nearby Cotswold Hills and entering the valley here. Enters the canal, of course, but how to best manage it and contain it, but also what else water can be used for. Now, it was because of all the water in the Stroud valleys that it became an industrial part of Gloucestershire. Previously it was a farming community, lots of sheep producing wool, and it was down to those early industrial entrepreneurs that found a new use for that wool, and it used the water around here to power the mills so that the wool could then be processed. Later on, of course, the Stroudwater Canal became an important provider for getting goods into those mills and goods out of it. But what about of all the water that surrounds me currently, rapidly hurtling down to the bottom of the valley? Even though the canal closed in 1954, it's still very much an important part, a role that it plays in this community. But the water still comes down off the hills. What happens if that water could be harnessed and still be used for some good? Now, after the Stroudwater Canal was decommissioned and closed in 1954, it still was an important site here because of all the water, and it was changed. The flow coming down from both the Ruscombe Brook and a little bit further along to the east, the Painswick stream entering it as well. So the two locks, which had long fallen out of use, were in fact weirs because of the drop in the height heading west towards the River Severn. Those locks needed to be restored as part of the total restoration process of the Stroudwater Canal between Stonehouse and Stroud. But I thought, how to harness the water at this location here at Dudbridge and make good use of that drop in height? Why not do something when the locks are being restored and harness the water energy all in one? Now behind me here is Dudbridge Upper Lock, Dudbridge Lower Lock, which lies a little bit further to the west. We'll see shortly, because that is the crux of our story. But you'll also notice that running alongside the canal is a separate channel, and there's a very good reason why that channel is there. Now, before Dudbridge Upper Lock was restored around about 2010 to 2015, there was a weir at this location because the lock had been taken out of use. The same went for the location at Dudbridge Lower Lock. And the reason that this additional channel was put in to the side of Dudbridge Upper Lock was because of the water capacity. The canal, of course, can only take so much water, and because we've got the Painswick stream entering the Stroudwater Canal a bit further up here, and the Ruscombe Brook entering the canal, just literally behind the camera between the two locks, that's a lot of water. And so this channel was put in when the lock was restored between 2010 and 2015. It also includes a fish lock. So it has a pass there similar to what we've seen at Diglis Basin on the River Severn, the navigable section of the River Severn near Worcester. And that is alongside the main channel, so fish can pass through the channel there freely. Now underneath my feet here is where the Ruscombe Brook enters the Stroud water. It's coming down a lot of force. We've had a lot of rain recently, and that's adding to the water that's already rushing down by that bypass channel around Dudbridge Upper Lock. And so there's a lot more water. So when the other lock, Dudbridge Lower Lock, was restored, they needed to put in a bypass channel there. But that's not all they did. Now, with the idea in place, in 2009, a company called Renewables Thirst did a viability project to see that the power of the water, combined water coming along the Stroud water and those bypass channels around the locks, could be harnessed to build, yes, a hydroelectric power station. They looked at all the options and saw, yes, it could be viable and it could be done, and also built when the two locks and both bypass channels were being built. Costings were then prepared, and the scheme could be done quite cheaply. Some £300,000 worth of grant money was received from various bodies. £100,000 came from the Gloucestershire Environmental Trust and £45,000 for the Summerfield Charitable Trust. In 2011, Stroud District Council and their contractors started building this major civil engineering project right on the Stroudwater Canal. To keep costs low, they got a lot of the volunteers involved with the project. They also reused equipment that had been surplus requirements elsewhere, including from a mill in Devon. I think it was called Sowton Mill in Devon. And that was part of what is known as the trash filter. You need to have one of those in on the bypass to filter out things like leaves, rubbish, and also fish as well, to prevent them entering the turbine. That wasn't all that happened. They also got involved with two neighbouring schools, one mining school and Stroud Girls High School, the engineering departments of those schools, to help design the best way to build the turbine and the costings for that as well. Now, the turbine chamber is alongside Dudbridge Lower Lock itself. I can't actually do a piece to camera there because it's a very noisy location that's next to a supermarket car park and a 4-lane highway. In fact, the bridge, Dudbridge Bridge, was completely rebuilt in 1991. It was a former canal bridge, and it was completely rebuilt as part of the widening scheme, and that was put in. So they had to do the complications of that within it. There is a large concrete space which is where the turbine is housed, and you'll see next to that there is a small brick building which is where the metering and all the electrics for it are kept. The flow of the water into the turbine goes under a separate bypass channel, and the water into that bypass channel is regulated by the turbine itself, so it doesn't become overfast and burn the turbine out. It's a very, very clever and complex system. And then the water that comes out the other side of the turbine is combined with the bypass channel going around Dudbridge Lower Lock, and it re-enters the Stroudwater Canal a little bit lower down, actually underneath Dudbridge Road Bridge itself. So now standing underneath Dudbridge Road Bridge, this is the one that was replaced in 1991 when the road was widened to 4 lanes. This is the Stroudwater Canal, and that there is where the water from both the bypass channel goes around Dudbridge Lower Lock, and the excess water coming out of the hydroelectric power station's turbine re-enters the Stroudwater Canal. There's actually a mural underneath that bridge, which was designed by yet another local school, Archway School, just here in Keynes Cross, or just outside Keynes Cross at Pagan Hill. And they designed and installed that in 2012 to just kind of add to the vibrancy of those underground passageways as the canal towpath and the canal goes underneath the 4-lane highway above. And it's good to know after the Stroudwater Canal closed in 1954, it still provides an important role today. Obviously, we've got the restoration now right down to, well, almost down to Thrupp, and hopefully onto Brimscombe Port soon, and connecting up with other places as well to Saul Junction. But aside from the nature and people using the towpath and the water itself and canoeing, and hopefully towpaths going through to Saul Junction one day, it has another function, and right here at Dudbridge, it's to generate electricity. That's it for today on this episode of The Secrets of the Stroudwater. There'll be another episode of The Secrets of the Stroudwater in the not too distant future. There'll also be other ones in my canal series and other videos I do right across the wider West Country. If you like that sort of thing, have a look at my channel, other videos that I've done. Maybe consider a subscribe. Love to hear from you as well, and a comment or a like or share. Somebody else you might think would be interested in this video about the history of the Stroudwater Canal and its variants that came before its predecessors. There'll be one coming up looking at the Cambridge Canal, which predated the Stroudwater by some years. I'm not sure what the next one will be though, so we have to wait and see what that'll be. So I hope you enjoyed it today. Till next time, take care. Bye bye.